G'day guys, welcome back. My name is Wildkard. Yes, last week I said I was going to take a break this week, but apparently the world of rugby does not take breaks, and here I am making another video. And normally I think I was just going to wait till next week to do 2 weeks of news, but I think this is just too much to talk about. And yeah, and I really want to talk about it this week whilst it's kind of like fresh in the media and in my mind. So obviously rugby league and rugby union has been engaged in a bit of a bidding war for talent over the last couple of years, a few years now actually, since Eddie Jones took over and made an absolute shit show out of it here in Australia with the sign of a Swali'i, the highest contract ever, supposedly $2 million a year. At the time, he was only 20 years old. And, there was a lot of talks about Rugby Australia needing rugby league players to survive because there's no talent, and drawn into this kind of bidding war for a lot of the talents. And I don't think it's correct, by the way. I think rugby union and rugby league are completely two different sports. There's 90% of the sport is just like non-transferable skills. And somehow they keep thinking rugby league and rugby union is the same sport and making these massive bids for some of the talents. So Zac Lomax is one of the players that was recently signed to Rugby Australia. And he's one of the guys that's just kind of like weird anyway. He plays for like a number of different clubs, like just changing clubs every year. And apparently he went from like $1 million contract down to like a $400,000 contract because he couldn't settle where he wants to play. He played for State of Origin, and then there was some talks that he was going to go overseas for the Rugby 360 competition that didn't go off. So he got out of that. He couldn't get that off the ground. And then he said that he came to Rugby Australia and wanted to play rugby and push for the Rugby World Cup. So he signed with the Western Force, and he's only signed for 3 months with the Western Force. Yes, only about 3 months ago where he signed with the Western Force and played his first game. He's already signed to go back to rugby league immediately to play at the PNG Chiefs, which is a new team that Rugby Australia is introducing. Sorry, not Rugby Australia, Rugby League NRL is introducing for 2028. So there's still 2 years away for that to happen. Now, I have no problem with any player, anyone in fact out there who wants to make more money and they want to go overseas. Go to the moon if you want. It doesn't bother me, okay? Go make whatever the money you want to make. The problem that I have with this deal, particularly, is the fact that the reason these players like Lomax are getting poached to go to PNG, Papua New Guinea, to play these games because of the massive tax breaks that is offered from the Australian government. And it's just so disgraceful in my opinion. Like, these players are millionaires. They don't need tax. Literally, the people that do not need tax breaks are like, rugby, sporting players. And they are getting no tax if they choose to play in PNG. And I have no doubt that's one of the reasons why this guy's gone, right? And I just think this is so disgraceful, so disgusting. Not only that, we are here struggling here in Australia, right? Imagine if they offered us tax breaks to the Wallabies or to the Waratahs. How much easier would it be for us to retain talent against the French, who are engaged in anti-competitive conduct to try to shut us down here, all right? How much easier would it be to stop the French from grass-cutting our talents before they're even age of 18? How many players have they taken over the seas before they even reached 18 years of age to play in the top 14? How much easier would it be if they actually give us the tax cuts so that our local teams, our local fans can get what we want, but instead, let's send the money overseas. Send it to Papua New Guinea, right? And they're going to tell you, they're going to gaslight you. They're going to gaslight you and tell you that, hey, this is for soft power. Let me tell you, only soft power you can get is building a hospital or building schools there. Doing something that people actually need. Sending Aussies to go overseas to play rugby is not soft power. And giving them a tax break is definitely not a soft power. That's anything but soft power. It's literally funneling money to your mates. That's what it is. It is disgraceful. It is absolutely disgraceful. And just whilst we're on it, right? So the Australian government has invested $600 million for the rugby league team in Papua New Guinea. 600 million. Are you joking me? for one rugby league team. Out of the taxpayer's pocket. 600 million. And just to give you an idea how stupid that is, right? For the operations of Rugby World Cup, 2 Rugby World Cups, the men's version and the women's version, and the development of women's teams, and promotion of the sport in the Pacific, Australian government only give us Rugby Australia 90 million. 2 World Cups, development, women's game, 90 million in total, and 1 rugby league team for men only is 600 fucking million. And tax breaks in addition. If this is not a rot, I don't know what it is. It's just disgraceful. Absolutely fucking disgraceful. So yeah, I don't blame, Lomax wanting to go make money. Everybody has to make a living. But I do think that the tax is just absolutely disgraceful. And this is not just me complaining. Like, rugby league players, like clubs, are complaining about this as well. Because they're struggling to retain their talents. Because they're looking at their talents getting poached. To go to this, some talents they've built over years and finally getting them through, and off you go. Tax-free. It's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. So anyway, let's move on. The All Blacks has announced their squad for the God, I can't even think. For the greatest rivalry tour, and it's a few updates. Obviously, in the July International Nations Championship, it's the squad is a lot smaller. I think it was about 30 something, 38 or something. So as a result of going to South Africa, and as a result of obviously playing the local teams, midweek games, they have to expand the squad essentially almost to double the size of the squad. Two teams essentially the size of the squad has ballooned into, which I think is great because this is a great opportunity for the All Blacks to give the newer players a chance, try out new combinations before the big tests, and then building into the Rugby World Cup, and especially with a new coach, Dave Rennie, Uncle Rennie, has taken over. A lot of these things needs time, and it's good that they have some of these smaller matches that they can build towards. I do think that, and this is going to be a controversial take, right? Especially for New Zealand fan, I do think that the sooner the All Blacks put the pride on the line, or off, pride away, and allow the team to actually, risk selections to potentially lose the game in pursuit of development. I think that's something the All Blacks, like what the French are doing. I think that's something that the All Blacks needs to think about. Obviously, not to do that against the Springboks. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting like against the French or something, right? Because there are some points you need to bring in new players. There are some point you need to build towards the future. And the problem with the All Blacks, the biggest problem for many, many years, probably decades at this point, is the fact that you're not allowed to lose. You're absolutely not allowed to lose any game. So that the absolute best team has to be put onto the field to make sure to win. And as a result, there is a lack of development, especially as the level of all the teams becoming higher and higher and higher. Back in the days, you could put on the B team against I don't want to offend anyone, but against some of the British teams, British and Irish teams, you could put on the B team and still win. Nowadays, that's just not possible anymore, right? Maybe Wales is the only one who could still put on a B team that can comfortably walk away with a win. You basically don't have any opportunity to grow any talents anymore because you have to put your best team full forward every game. So that's something you have to probably swallow the pride, the pill, and say, hey, there may be some games that we're happy to lose. Not obviously don't go out there and try to lose. We're happy to risk losing, happy to take on a greater risk of losing to build towards the future. And I think that's something that the All Blacks need to think about. But anyway, let's have a look at the All Blacks 44 men who are going to be representing the nation at the tour. So Asava Almua already in the team. Cody Taylor, Samasani Tokiaho already the selected for the July series. George Bell is added into the team as the 4th hooker for the tour. In the props, a few additions as well. Ethan de Groot is already in the team. George Bauer has been added from the Crusaders. Xavier Numia already in the team. Ollie Norris, another guy being added from the Chiefs, or maybe I think it's added to the Chiefs. Tyrell Lomax already in the team as well. Fletcher Newell, Pasilia Tosi, and then there's a new one, potentially debutant. Siale Lawaki from the Hurricanes gets called into the side as a potential debutant for the props. Again, these are the players you need to bring in for like the Bulls game and stuff. It's just perfect opportunity for them to not only get the feel for what it's like to be in the All Blacks environment, but to play some games that are quite, much bigger, higher level than Super Rugby. In the locks, we got Tupavai, Patrick Tupelotu, Josh Lord, Sam Darry, and then Fabian Holland returns from injury, and he's going to be playing the NPC for a few games as well before heading over, just to get himself, sort of some game ready before heading over to South Africa. So he's being reportedly feeling quite good there as well. In the loose forward, we got Peter Larkai, Simon Parker, Ethan Blackadder gets added into the team. I'm pretty sure Simon Parker was part of the team, but he just didn't play. But maybe he was injured or something. But Ethan Blackadder officially added into the team. Luke Jacobson, Anton Segner, Adi Xavier, Wallace Otiti, and then Semisi Tupo Ta'ailoa from Moana Pacifica is added into the team as a loose forward. So that is a huge, interesting selection. I wasn't even sure they were allowed to select Moana Pacifica players, but looks like it is. Obviously, Adi Xavier is Moana Pacifica, but he's technically like a New Zealand. Like Hurricanes, former Hurricanes or whatever. But I don't think they were allowed to select Moana Pacifica directly out of the team. But it looks like because the team has gone because it's supposed to be, for development for like Tonga and stuff for the islands. But looks like since the team has gone under, they are allowed to select from the team now. So yeah, so this guy's being given an opportunity to play potentially against some of the South Africans. In the halfbacks, we've got Cameron Roygaard, Cordes Ratma, Kyle Kristen, unchanged. In the fly halves, we got Ruben Love, Bowden Barrett, Damien McKenzie, and then Josh Jacom has been called into the team. I'm pretty sure he wasn't part of the team. He plays for the Highlanders. Sorry, plays for the Chiefs. And he could also cover 15 as well. But yeah, interesting selection because I thought the guy from Highlanders might get a shot. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but I can remember his looks. But I can't remember. He played in the NPCs as well. I thought he might get a shot, but Jacom gets the nod here, which is interesting selection. Midfielders, we've got Geordie Barrett, Quinton Tupaya, Billy Proctor, Anton Lennon Brown, unchanged, and we've got Timothy Tavatanawai gets called into the team, and there was some talks of where Dave Rennie was going to put him, and Dave Rennie definitely said he wants him at 12, which is interesting. On the back line, we've got Caleb Clark, Fihi Fanga Nofel, Leroy Carter, Josh Morby, Will Jordan, unchanged, and the new additions are Riku Ioane being called back into the team, and Imoni Narua has also been added into the team. So Leroy Carter was interesting. I highlighted him here because the Dave Rennie, Uncle Rennie, reckons that he could play halfback. So that's an interesting selection. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that's going to go if they're actually going to do that against one of the club teams against South Africa. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Or if he's just like the absolute fourth option that if everybody gets injured, he'll be rolled out as a potential reserve. But maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe like a 6-2 setup on the bench with him. But it's interesting. But I like how he's thinking the some diverse options for the players, especially out of the halfback position, because halfback is one where you almost can't get rid of on the bench. You almost always have a halfback and additional halfback. And just to have someone who can cover multiple positions in the back line to also play as a halfback is really kind of like the idea that Dave Rennie is going for here. So yeah, really, really interesting. And as a result of the, of some of the comments that Dave Rennie made, Bowden is going to be already selected, penciled in to play against the first game against the Stormers. He's already penciled in to play the first game against the Stormers. 7th of October, so maybe 8th here in Australia, Saturday morning for you guys in New Zealand, that's all I believe. And he is, already penciled in. And Dave Rennie also talking about how he's already selected the first test team against the Springboks. Not surprising. Apparently he's already selected before the Ireland game, so not surprising because I really thought he might tweak a little bit from the Ireland setup, but not surprising that You know, I wouldn't be surprised if most of the players were selected, but I'm a little bit surprised that he got all the apparently he selected the whole team before the Ireland game for the first test against South Africa. So I'm a little bit, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that, because I genuinely thought he might have, you know, 80% of the team selected, then that's fine. But I really thought that to already locked in the whole team before that, maybe he's just, you know, he's just throwing, maybe just, you know, they can always change, right? He's just talking, you know, the plan. Maybe things still could change. It's not absolutely locked in. Adi Save will be getting a bit of break. He will be playing in the first test, but most likely playing the first test, but he won't be traveling to South Africa until 10 days before the first test. So he's going to get a break, an extended break than most of his teammates, because he's just been on and on playing. So basically he finished last year and then immediately went to play in Japan, and then just continue playing until he's come back to July. So he's been playing more than like a year straight and without really any break. So he's going to have a bit of break, but he will be available for the first test. So the Waratahs has some coaching searching. Michael Cheika potentially be lined up. There's a competition again between to lock in Michael Cheika and St. Helens in Super League, which is a rugby league team in the UK. So there is some talks that he was going to go there. He's currently at the Cox as an assistant coach. But there's a potential for him to come back for the Waratahs. Joe Schmidt, I thought he was going to go retired, but no, he didn't go right off to the sunset. He's going back to Ulster as a coach, development advisor for 12 months. So he's back to Ireland. I thought he was going to go spend some time with his disabled children, but apparently that's not happening. Argentina has announced a bunch of rookies to play against the Boks and the Wallabies. Okay, whatever, sure. It is what it is with Argentina instead of Argentina rugby nowadays. So Fijian Drua has signed Brad Moore as the new coach for the Druas. So, you know, the coach was fired last season, so Brad Moore has been called in, a former Crusader guy. Yeah, joined the rank for the Drua, which is interesting. Australian rugby has locked down Trayvon Pritchard to 2031 apparently, so that's a pretty big deal. He's only like 19 years of age, and he's played at like an under 20s team not that long ago, and yeah, interesting to see how they're gonna use him for the next 6 years, 5 years or so. So that's gonna be nice. Ma Nonu has moved to South Africa to play for the Sharks. James O'Connor apparently is coming back home, and most likely the talk is that he will be going to the Western Force. Now, obviously, they've got Donaldson there. I don't know, O'Connor will come off the bench and give him some guidance. I was expecting him to potentially sign with the Waratahs, but since the Waratahs signed Bernard Foley, I don't see how they want to have two late stage fly halves, at the Waratahs. So Foley's back, but O'Connor probably going to be at the Western Force. And finally, Gareth Anscombe, he is back at Scarlets in Wales. So yeah, thanks for watching. That's the news. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Have a good one. Cheers, guys.